They laughed at her, whispered behind her back. A young black woman, determined to break barriers, stood boldly in a room where she was often underestimated. Her dream? To become a partner at a prestigious firm, a space where few people like her had ever been allowed to shine. While others doubted her and some outright mocked her ambition, she never stopped pushing forward. She worked late nights, fought through rejection, and navigated challenges most couldn't imagine. For 3 years, she quietly built her legacy, each step fueled by the very doubt that surrounded her. Then, one day, the same people who scoffed at her were left stunned by what she achieved. So what did she do that left everyone speechless? And how did she prove them all wrong? Stick around to hear the story of resilience, triumph, and the ultimate clapback. You don't want to miss this. She wasn't born into privilege, and she certainly wasn't handed opportunities. Growing up, she was told to aim for stability, not success, because the odds were stacked too high against her. But something in her always rebelled against those limits. When she joined the firm, she noticed immediately how different she was from everyone else. The leadership team was a sea of sameness, wealthy, connected, and overwhelmingly white. She didn't just stand out, she was invisible to many of them. Her ideas were ignored in meetings, her hard work was often credited to others, and the whispers about her ambitious attitude were impossible to miss. Still, she kept showing up, head held high, determined to prove her worth. She watched, listened, and learned, figuring out how the system worked and where she could carve her path. But just when she thought she was making progress, the biggest setback of her career would push her to the edge. It happened during the annual performance review. She walked into the room prepared, armed with a solid track record and countless late nights to back her up. But as she sat across from the senior partners, she could tell something wasn't right. They danced around her accomplishments, dismissing them as good effort, while praising others who had done far less. Then came the moment that stung the most, when they told her she wasn't ready to be considered for partnership. The words hit hard, but it wasn't just the rejection. It was the smirks from a few colleagues in the hallway afterward, the whispered jokes about how she'd never fit the mold. She felt the weight of the message. This wasn't just about her qualifications. It was about who they thought she could never be. But instead of breaking her, it lit a fire. She decided if they wouldn't give her a seat at the table, she'd build her own. She channeled her frustration into action, refusing to let their rejection define her. While others were content with following the same path, she started paving her own. She took on high-stakes projects that no one wanted, often working twice as hard for half the recognition. She sought out mentors outside the firm, people who believed in her vision and helped her sharpen her skills. Slowly but surely, she built a reputation beyond the walls of the office, a reputation they couldn't ignore. But the harder she worked, the louder the doubters became. Some openly mocked her efforts, claiming she was trying too hard. Others whispered that she didn't belong in leadership, as if success had a look, and it wasn't hers. Each comment fueled her determination. Then one day, an opportunity arose that would test everything she had worked for. It was risky, it was bold, and if she failed, it would all come crashing down. But if she succeeded, it would change everything. She took the opportunity without hesitation, knowing it was a gamble that could either elevate her career or destroy it completely. It was a complex deal, one that required precision, strategy, and leadership under pressure. The firm wasn't fully on board with her leading the project, but they had no choice. No one else was willing to take the risk, and deep down, some hoped she would fail. But just as things started to fall into place, an unexpected roadblock appeared. One of the firm's key clients, a high-profile figure with significant influence, refused to work with her. He didn't say it outright, but his actions spoke volumes. He questioned her decisions at every turn, made unreasonable demands, and undermined her authority in front of the team. It felt like the system was trying to push her back down, testing just how far she was willing to go. Yet she refused to fold. Instead, she doubled down, working tirelessly to outsmart the obstacles and keep the project on track. But behind closed doors, something even bigger was brewing, something she didn't see coming, and it threatened to change the game entirely. The deal was hanging by a thread. Every moment felt like a high-stakes chess match, and she was determined not to lose. Despite the client's resistance and the constant second-guessing from her colleagues, she pushed forward with sharp strategy and unshakable focus. When the project's deadline arrived, she presented her final plan, a solution so innovative and airtight that even the most critical voices were silenced. The deal closed, and it became one of the firm's most significant successes in years. The victory was undeniable, but what happened next stunned everyone. At the firm's annual meeting, instead of congratulating her, one senior partner tried to downplay her role, subtly implying that her success was just luck. But before he could finish, the client, yes, the same one who had doubted her, stood up and publicly praised her brilliance, stating she was the sole reason the deal had succeeded. That moment shifted everything. Not only did she earn the partnership she had fought so hard for, but she became a symbol of what was possible when you refused to give up. And as she stood at the podium accepting her new role, she smiled, not for revenge, but because she had proven to herself and the world that she belonged. As she stood there, looking out at the room that once doubted her, she felt a wave of emotions: pride, relief, and a deep sense of fulfillment. Her journey wasn't just about proving others wrong. It was about proving herself right. She had turned every setback into an opportunity, every rejection into motivation. Her story became a source of inspiration, not only for young women like her, but for anyone who had ever felt underestimated. Her new role as a partner wasn't just a title, it was a platform. She made it her mission to mentor others, ensuring that the road she'd traveled wouldn't be as lonely or as difficult for those who came next. The whispers that once mocked her turned into conversations celebrating her. She had rewritten the narrative, not just for herself, but for the future. And as she left the stage, she knew this was only the beginning of something greater.